But what I think does make sense is the idea, and this is something that Michael Pollan has argued in his book, How to Change Your Mind, that psychedelics were probably really important in the early stages of civilization because they by in the same way alcohol does, it depatterns your brain. It allows parts of your brain, it allows a lot of crosstalk that doesn't normally happen in your brain, and that leads you to come up with new ideas. New and a lot of them, he compares it. I like his analogy. He compares it to a mutagen in genetic evolution. So genetic evolution can only work because there are mutations, right? You get genes changing. Most mutations are bad, neutral or bad, but every once in a while you get one that's good, and that's how genetic evolution progresses. He argues that for cultural evolution, psychedelics are doing the same thing. They're scrambling up your brain. They're causing you to come up with these really weird new combinations of ideas. Most of the time, it's garbage, right? Most of the time, the stuff you write
I can
down, the
attest to
insights
that,
you have.
unfortunately.
Yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
made
So
some
I talk in
notes
the
when
book
I,
about
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine, let's call it a friend of mine, did some psychedelics, and then he took
yeah,
notes. It wasn't me.
right,
And then,
yeah,
I thought it was kind of, it's going to be the new War and Peace. I'm the new Tolstoy.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
I read it the next
yeah,
day, and I, suffice to say that I'm not the new Tolstoy.
yes,
Not
yeah.
even
No,
the new
in
Dan
the book
Brown.
I talk about, yeah, not even the new Dan Brown. I wrote an essay called that proved definitively that truth is the color blue, and it was about 20 pages long, and it had diagrams in it, and I was sure that I was a grad student at the time. I was sure that this is it. This is my dissertation, and they're not only going to just pass me right away, but they'll give me a full professorship at Stanford because I figured out the most important thing in the universe. And then I read it the next morning, and I was like, yeah, okay, I will not turn
Sounds
that into
like
my
the
advisor.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the number
Yeah, right,
42. I don't
right,
know if you, yeah, right.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So it's mostly garbage, just in the same way that most genetic mutations are harmful or useless. But every once in a while, something new and really important may come out of that, and that's the raw material that cultural evolution can work on.
Right.
And so I think the proper way to understand the role of psychedelics, for instance, in human history, is as this kind of really dramatic, it's like shaking up the snow globe. You're just all this weird stuff's going to happen, and some of it may be good. And basically, alcohol is doing the same thing but less dramatically.
Mm.
And so you're going to get less creative insights because they're not your brain isn't as wildly depatterned as it is with psychedelics. But you're probably more likely to come up with something useful on on alcohol than on mushrooms. You're more likely to write War and Peace on alcohol than you are on psilocybin
Hence
mushrooms.
why we have so much awesome Russian literature,
Yes,
right?
exactly.